Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. Today we have a Patriot build, and this particular Patriot build, I featured something very similar a while back that utilized Super Skrull, and the main use at that point was that Super Skrull helps you win the Patriot counters. We were seeing Patriot a lot, so the mirror matches, you could win those a lot more frequently. We were seeing the Patriot a lot more often then, but with how common Leech has gotten, I started thinking about how can we do decently? What deck doesn't get completely derailed if you get leeched? And I landed on Patriot. Previously with Patriot decks, you would want to hide and hold onto your Patriot until the last turn and then play it on 5 or 6, or 6 or 7 if you were running the Magic version. With this one, we actually don't need to hold it. Very few decks these days run Rogue or Enchantress, so a lot of times your ongoing abilities are relatively safe to be on the board a lot earlier on in the game, and that is especially true against Thanos. If you see a Thanos, we don't need to hide our Patriot, we don't need to hide our Super Skrull, our Mystique. We can play them onto the board, we can curve them out as early as possible, and then navigate to try to find the efficient way to drop our power for the remainder of the game. If we have Patriot in hand, we can drop it on curve. If we don't, then they drop Leech, we top deck it later, we get some surprise value there as well. And then especially for the Thanos match, Super Skrull offers a lot of value. The most common Thanos build is going to be running Devil Dino, Soulstone, and then Blue Marvel as the core pieces in that deck that are oftentimes either flipped into or just out on the board. And with that, we can get some really big value from the Super Skrull. If they end up playing 2, if you do Super Skrull and Mystique, you can have a pretty big widespread power that a lot of times is either going to make it where they don't want to play those cards, and so then their play line becomes inefficient, or if you get it after they play those cards, it's that surprise factor and that surprising amount of power that you can push onto the board. And then the rest of the deck is a relatively straightforward Patriot deck. Now, if you don't have Super Skrull is a Series 4 card. If you don't have Super Skrull, the really good thing about Patriot is that there are a lot of ways to build it. If you don't have Super Skrull, I would recommend changing it to something more in line with this. The wave could be a debris to further lean in on Khazar, but for me, a wave sometimes feels pretty decent to slow down the opponent's curve, to push your Onslaught, your Doctor Doom out onto the board early, and then you can finish off the game with your Patriot and Mystique. You can finish off the game with your Ultron, your Onslaught. It gives you a little bit more flexibility in how you play. If you are seeing Galactus, definitely go with the Debris tech as your counterpiece instead. But either one is going to run relatively well into the Thanos mirror matches. If you want to see more of this deck and any other deck live, make sure to be following us on twitch.tv/TLSGSnap. We've been going live every single weekday for the last couple of weeks, so make sure that you're there to be able to tune in and enjoy. But with the brief deck explanation out of the way, we're going to jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, first up we have Keen Koala, and Keen Koala's running a Thanos list. It's been a long time since I've seen Thanos. I'm not sure I even really remember what the play lines of the deck do or how they navigate. So, so the first play they have is Quinjet. Having Quinjet in your starting hand, especially if you have a couple of stones to go with that, is such a strong starter as a Thanos player. We do have our Misty Knight. We have Mr. Sinister. We're going to play Patriot on 3 because I assume that since they have the extra cards, they will be able to ramp into playing a Leech on 4. And so we want to curve this out as early, and it's not a surprise anymore. They let us know that it's not a surprise drop. They got that from the Daily Bugle. We're going to play our Patriot, and we're going to play our Patriot. If we draw into Super Skrull, we can actually go with that instead of going with whatever we end up going. Ooh, the Space Stone is most definitely not a Time Stone. I feel like they have to have better cards in their hand. Maybe they didn't get a good draw? So I'm torn on Debris in this list. Debris is here to be able to help us against Galactus, but it always feels like it clogs the board just a little bit more than I would like for it to. So if we play here, yes, it starts clogging up that lane, but we don't get a huge amount of benefit from the stones. I would almost rather have the space to play in, so I could curve into something like Blue Marvel and then Onslaught if we don't get leeched. So I'm actually not going to play it. We're going to go Shocker instead. I might switch the Debris back out for Cyclops. if we are seeing a lot of Galactus, debris feels like a necessary evil. But without that, I feel like we don't need it. Oh. We had the Super Skrull into the Onslaught and the Wasp on the board to copy their Patriot that they gave back to us, to copy their Soulstone twice here, to really help elevate this lane. Oh, it was going to be beautiful, guys. All right, next up we have Dutogira. The first location, oh no, not a Thanos list. The first location is Titan. So we'll be able to do an Onslaught a turn earlier. We could do our Onslaught and Ultron this game because of that. That we curve into our Misty Knight first. We don't necessarily need to, I don't know, we're going to spread our power a bit. I'm probably going to curve out into our Patriot and Mystique, just because we don't know exactly what they're running. The Scorpion tells me it's probably, I don't like Rickety Bridge. The Scorpion tells me it's probably not a Galactus build. So I'm going to go ahead and play our Patriot, then our Mystique, then probably our Onslaught on 4. And then we can always Ultron into Rickety Bridge on the last turn. So they Cosmo into Wakanda. Interesting. That's fine. Let's go with the Mystique. We're going to continue to buff up our Shocker. Ultron in the right lane on the last turn is going to, should hands down win us Wakanda. And then they have to play something into Rickety Bridge, or else our Ultron wins that lane by itself. So the Cosmo, they don't have the Shuri because they played into the Cosmo lane. The Maximus is interesting. Okay. It's not terrible. Not great, but not terrible. I'm going to play the Onslaught into the left lane. The reason we're going to do Wasp here as well is if they play something here, we want them to have to play something there on the last turn as well. And so if they don't play something here, they're almost going to be forced to play something over there on turn 6 to make sure that we don't get it for a free just 0 drop card, and then we can adjust from there. It just makes it a little bit more clunky for them to find their way to win. Now, if they have an Enchantress, if this is the one deck that I know of that runs Enchantress, that's unfortunate. No, so they run a Polaris. I'm not sure what deck list they're running. It looks like maybe it's I don't know, just a good value deck. So maybe it's the value deck that runs Leech and a couple other cards, and they just didn't hit their proper curve. So now they're going to have to play over into Rickety Bridge, or else we can potentially steal it away for free with the Wasp. I think we just put them in a tough spot. Like, I don't think they can find a way to comfortably do this. Now, a Magneto to Rickety Bridge could be kind of scary. It pulls our Patriot, our Mystique, and we're just left with Onslaught in the Titan location. Okay, the Killmonger is big too. Okay, well. The Silver Surfer is not going to do it. We are going to clear out the right lane. We have the massive lead in Wakanda thanks to the protection from Wakanda. Their Killmonger was big, but it wasn't enough to quite get them what they needed. We will take the 4-cube win where we can. We will take absolutely every cube on this absolute horrendous grind we've been having this season. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Deadpool. The first location is Mindscape. All right, next up we have Deadpool. I'm not sure if I said next or first. First location is Mindscape. They're not running a Thanos list, surprisingly. So it's probably a Shuri deck. This deck does not do well against Shuri. So for me, I see Thanos much more commonly than Shuri. But if it was the other way around, I would probably lean more towards a different deck list, something that performs better against Shuri than this one. So Los Diablo Space does come down. They run a Patriot. Ooh. If it's the Patriot mirror match, we have a pretty big opportunity with our Super Skrull tech. I'm going to go ahead and use Mystique on the Patriot. I assume that they're not going to have a rogue of their own, a rogue or an Enchantress. We're going to run the Mystique. We're hoping to top deck Super Skrull at some point. Up until then, we're going to just spread as many vanilla cards onto the board as we possibly can. They have a Mystique of their own. This last lane is Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is a low-cost tech that if you're not running into Killmonger, you get a lot of value from. And so we do have the Ultron. I think we need to flood the board, though. I mean, I guess we could do Blue Marvel into Ultron, and that's going to flood here and here. But if we top deck our Super Skrull, that'll feel kind of bad. They do use a Blue Marvel of their own. I would really like to be able to do the Onslaught here, but we just don't have enough power already on the board to be able to justify it. So we're going to drop the Ultron into the lane with our ongoing abilities. That's probably going to be our loss lane. And then we're going to fill up the rest with the Ultron bots. That might be enough to swing us Nidavellir, the Ruins, depending on what kind of in-game they're running. All right, so they completely rope the time. They do come down with 3 cards. Let's see if it's going to be enough for them to be able to find a win. So the Nidavellir lane is going to be really big, coming in at 44 power. We have the 26 in the left lane, with them splitting their cards across the board. Ooh, the Brood is big too. That might be able to overpower us, not quite. It doesn't quite overpower us in the left lane, not quite in the middle lane, not quite in the right lane either. So we do come down with all 3 lanes to be able to find the win in the mirror match without drawing into our Super Skrull. All right, next up we have, oh slap. They're not running a Thanos list either. I think we hit a good pocket of the day, because earlier in the day it seems like it's all Thanos. Later in the day seems like it's all Thanos, but I think we hit a good middle ground where we're seeing some people experimenting, which is very, very much appreciated. This deck does do really well against Thanos in most cases. So it's not that we have to not go against Thanos to do well, but it is nice for a video to be able to have a good widespread amount of kind of different games to showcase some different flexibility that the deck list has. Now, they run Zabu and the Hood. Some of the Ceratech decks have ended up cutting the Enchantress, but I think, ooh, so it's the Daredevil, which matches their avatar, that tracks. The Daredevil, Zabu, what could it be? We're going to use Super Skrull. So if it is the Toxic Sarah, we copy the Luke Cage. If they are running a Hawk deck, then unless they send rocks our way, they're not going to get benefit from it. If they try to sneak into Professor X, we're going to copy Professor X's ability. And so I think we should get some decent scroll value. Even if they don't end up playing anything onto the board, I think we will get plenty of value from it nonetheless. So we have 1 vanilla card, 2 vanilla cards here. Let's go ahead and play our Cyclops into... Kunlun. That's going to be a little bit better than completely clogging this board. Next turn, we can do the Patriot and the Mystique to buff up our pre-existing lanes, depending on what they come down with here. The Zabu, I'm super interested in. It could mean that, they're running like a Wong Luke Cage Hazmat build. So they come down with a Squirrel Girl. Super strange, oh slap. I didn't think this was a bot, but now I'm second guessing it. We'll probably keep it in because we've been facing a lot of bots. Unfortunately, we have gotten pretty comfy in bot territory. I'm going to play the 2 cards here. I don't think Miniaturized Lab we ever win with the 1 power. And so we're just going to push the little bit to the left and mid and help buff it up that way. Hopefully it's enough, but it might not be. With them playing 3 cards, ooh, so it's a good thing we didn't. It's a good thing we didn't play our Patriot and Enchantress over, or Patriot and our Mystique over there. They would have hit it with the Enchantress that was teched in to this build. I'm not. Ooh, wait, it is a real person. They gave us the good old thumbs up. So we're gonna go ahead and take our 2 cubes. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, we knew the rain could not last. We are now going against Sky Striker Ace, and Sky Striker is running a Thanos list. Let's see if we're able to maneuver past them. Right now, we don't have our Patriot. That would be our ideal turn 3 play to be able to curve it out before it. We will take it to curve it out before a Leech potentially comes down. Since they already have Soulstone on the board, we will probably do Patriot into either Super Skrull or Patriot into Mystique. I don't know which direction we go just yet. The Nexus is big, but they can very likely change it. I don't want to assume that though. We're gonna go ahead and play Patriot over there. They do have Soulstone. If they come down with a Time Stone here, then we know that we need to rush out whatever last minute, last turn play we have. And so the Patriot, we do now get Brood, which is big. They didn't play anything, so She-Hulk is very likely going to come down or come into play. I think we split our Patriot and our Mystique. The reason being, if they end up playing something like, I don't know, Devil Dino, we can sneak the Super Skrull value here to get some pretty decent push. We get the Soul Stone that will hurt them in that lane. They didn't play anything. They can't play the Leech. We're safe against the Leech. That's our copium for the day. Let's see what they played in Murder World. She-Hulk and Space Stone. Okay, so depending on what they decide they need to do here, if they do Reality Stone, it's okay. It kind of sucks, but it's okay. If they don't, then we do have the Ultron that we can lean in on. I'm going to play Super Skrull just in case they do Blue Marvel, Devil Dino, something big we're going to get some value from. We also get the Soul Stone. That is the Devil Dino that we speak of. We don't get as much value out of it as they do unless we top deck into an Onslaught. So the only thing that beats us here is what? An Arrow? Arrow could do it. Otherwise, we're going to double down on the Super Skrull. That 10 becomes 20. That's still not enough, is it? A Wasp here as well would be beautiful. I think they have invested very heavily in the Nexus. Do we ever play the Ultron and then push power here, and hope to win the tiebreaker after everything is said and done? I don't think that's unreasonable. All of our Doombots are going to be 5. If this gets arrowed, that's fine. We actually do this, and we push a little bit more into the Nexus, and we don't have to have as much to overcome. I think the Ultron is going to be better than the Onslaught here. If we had Onslaught and Wasp to play onto the board, I think that wins. But because we don't, the Shang-Chi comes down. It does hurt our Super Skrull, but we should be able to get the... Okay, they changed the middle location with the Reality Stone. We should be able to get the Ultron to come down. That's 15, 510, 15, right? 15 in the right lane, plus the one from Patriot. We win the left and the middle location because they did not have much power there. We lose the Nexus. It is one of the very rare, very few games where you can lose the Nexus, but win the game. That is insanely close. We won by 1 in the Quantum Realm. We will absolutely take it. Let's go ahead and take that one, and that is where we are going to end the video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave it a like and a comment down below. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.